Hi everybody, welcome back to the Aurora Live channel. I just wanted to highlight a few things with regard to personal mastery and what we call character creation. So I'm going to zoom in to the four triangles of the Life Vision chart. And if you've not heard about the Life Vision chart, click on the description link down below so that you can get access to that video. Now, the central piece about self-development is not about discipline. I can't emphasize that enough. So many times people have said, discipline yourself to do this, discipline yourself to do that. Now, if you were so disciplined, every single one of your goals would have been achieved by now, wouldn't it? But correct me if I'm wrong, about 20% of your goals get achieved at best. Every single day, if you've got a to-do list, yeah, you check out the tasks that you do. But in terms of your long-term vision of a goal you want to accomplish, most of them haven't come true. Now, here's the conundrum. Of course it wouldn't have come true because those are the things that are of the future. You're going to have to wait until they come true before you can check it off your list of goals, right? So think about goals as a lag measure. In other words, it's only after you've accomplished the goal that you can say that you've accomplished the goal. And of course, this takes time. Now, what I highly recommend for you to do is something different. Like, for example, everyone says, I want to lose weight. Losing weight is the goal, but they don't have the right kinds of habits to help them get to the goal. So you need to break down those goals in a cascade, which I call a goals cascade chart. So losing weight, what are the elements that will help you to get to this outcome? And this is the lag result. What kind of actions or behaviors can you take? So for example, look into your nutrition, right? And then you can break that down some more. Involve yourself in some kind of exercise routine, participate in intermittent fasting. All of these things will then help you to arrive at the ideal weight or the ideal goal of your weight eventually, right? So the point behind this is that setting goals is really not the key thing. Setting the appropriate habits and then snowballing those habits is the thing that ultimately leads to the end outcome of discipline. I'll give you an example. So over the last 8 months or so, I've been putting myself into more and more rigorous physical regime. And the reason why I want to do that is simply because I feel that it's important to invest in my health. Once I hit my 50s and 60s, I would probably look back and wish I had done better because I take a look at my 20s and I go, what a big waste, right? I should have done more with my body back then. So right now, as I'm implementing my strategies for lifting, for resistance training and so on, a lot of people are asking me questions with regard to how in the world did you do that? You're so disciplined. And truth be told, I wasn't disciplined. I was just doing things on a regular basis. And because I was doing it on a regular basis, it becomes part of me, right? You want to be able to do that until it becomes part of you, not just in your mind, not just in your emotions, but also in your bodily actions. So how did I go about doing that? Truth be told, I looked at a whole bunch of videos on YouTube. I followed routines. I said, wow, this looks interesting. And I tried it out. I got a sense of how badly my body was aching the next day. And I said, okay, that workout really worked. And then I started to escalate that. Did more sets, did more rounds. And eventually, what happened was I started reporting these after I had gotten this routine done. And the routine, to be honest, initially it took like a couple of hours sometimes to complete. But over the course of time, it got shorter and shorter and shorter because my body just got used to that routine. And then I started exploring other things. All this while listening and nourishing my mind because I know one of the places where I get a huge amount of energy from is through mental and intellectual stimulation. So I watch a YouTube video, I get stimulated by a new idea, maybe a new workout routine, and I go, that's fascinating. And then I dive into that new routine and it just keeps moving forward. Since then, I'm happy to report I've dropped from 84 kilograms down to 70 kilograms. I've touched 69 once in a while, but that weight loss is not really my aim. My aim is to have a better physique, to have greater strength in some of the muscles that I've never used before, so that push comes to shove, I'll be prepared just in case anything happens to me. I don't want to become bedridden because I know what a hospital can do to me, not just for me. Now, having said that, it brings to mind the idea that if you're constantly taking action on one small little habit that is cascading upwards towards your main goal, that's exactly what's going to happen for you, right? So nutrition and physical exercise and intermittent fasting, go together in order to help you to reach ideal weight goals. How about business? What are some of these elements? Getting to know your people, making sure you've got a clear vision on what you want to do, and even within clear vision, you can break it down some more. Studying the best practices in some companies, understanding how to test and fail and measure those failures so that you can improve. How do you design things that are client-centric? So all of these things can be broken down further. What you need to do is to be able or willing to experiment with it if you don't already have a coach. And I highly recommend that you get a business coach if you're looking into business, a health coach if you're looking into health, and so on. For a lifestyle coach, someone who's thinking about overall optimization of your life, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be very happy to have that kind of conversation with you so that you can optimize your implementation of all of these plans. Now, coming back to the entire cycle, we've got physical, we've got emotional. How do you actually create emotional habits? It's quite simple, right? We've got stimulus and then we've got response. The response is the emotion, and you need to shift your stimulus so that you get consistently the responses that you want rather than the ones that you don't want. Now, a stimulus leading to a response is a chain of events. So there's a stimulus that leads to a response, which then acts as a stimulus to another response. For example, you're passing by your favorite restaurant. You're smelling the smell of your favorite fried chicken. You want to eat that fried chicken, so you place an order, right? So smelling the smell of fried chicken triggers the desire to want to buy it. The fact that you've got that behavior done triggers your eating behavior that eventually leads you to, maybe over-consuming, getting overweight perhaps. So what you do is now you reconstitute each and every one of these. So for example, you can use any one of those stimulus as a trigger. In neuro-linguistic programming, we call that a cue. So this cue is going to help you to trigger a variety of different things. It could help you to trigger reward behavior. It could help you to trigger aversive behavior. It can even help you to trigger almost any other kind of behavior that you choose. So for example, at one point of time, fried chicken, to me, triggered off the thought of going to the gym. Strange, right? But that's exactly how it happens. Almost anything can be used as a trigger for something else. So I smell that smell of fried chicken and I go, let's go work out. Right? And then suddenly the urge to want to participate in overfeeding of fried chicken just completely disappears. Now, in order for you to do that, you need to remember that the emotion of doing well in a gym has to be recreated inside of your mind. So when you think of the gym, you start thinking of great feelings of you having a good physique, having good aches, right? To demonstrate that there is hypertrophy in your muscles and you're growing, and maybe some weight loss or whatever that might be. So if you understand where I'm coming from, it's all about recognizing how to choose a cue and utilizing those cues to trigger off new responses in terms of your physical behaviors or possibly your emotional reactions. And both of them ideally should go hand in hand. There's a behavior that carries a certain emotion and that makes you feel really absolutely good. Now finally is this psychological piece. Now you'll notice that what we're doing here is mentally doing a process of reprogramming. Now in order for you to do that, you need to get stories, illustrations, a clear idea of the process. So for me, when I used to not like running, in fact I stopped running for now, I don't believe that I want to get into too much cardio while I'm bulking up. But again, that's something for another discussion. So, but before that, I never really liked cardio, and then I started to pick up cardio and I just did the same thing. I said, okay, let's just do one round around the block. And once I was done with that block, I said, let's do another round. And then the next day I'll do the same thing, and then I'll say, let's just go a little bit further. I just accumulated that by seeing the possibility of running just down another street as an extension of what I'm currently doing. Now, to be able to clearly see that allows your mind to make it real, because you can see moving down an extra 500 meters if you're just running down this road. So if I go down that way and I can come back, it's just another kilometer. So I'll just do that. And when you're able to see that clearly in your mind, you can think about the number of repetitions you like to make, right? So inside your mind, you're playing a game. You're thinking about a story, an illustration a clarity of that illustration in the form of what you can see, what you can say to yourself, that gets you to do this physical and emotional reprogramming done. So psychologically, there's also a way to call upon your sense of values as well as your sense of identity. So I wouldn't call myself a runner, but I'll call myself someone who needs to defend the country, right? So in Singapore, we have national service. For those of you who are from overseas, you know that we need to serve the country because of the environment that we've created in Singapore. And we owe the peace to the infrastructure that we have in Singapore. And as a result, we're going back serving the country with as much patriotism as we can muster, but also to look for the meaning behind that. So I can say to myself, look, if I'm running, it's because I hold very dear the value of patriotism or loyalty to the country. Or you could simply say, the reason why I'm running is because I am a runner, and that's just what I do. I just run, and that's my day-to-day rigor. The fact that I'm doing it only means that I am staying true to myself. You see, so there are different levels. One is a values level, patriotism. The other one is an identity level, where this is just who you are. You know how difficult it is for people to change their habits when they say, well, this is just who I am, I can't change this. And they remain the same. It's so amazing. But if you find a way to shift the story inside of your mind, you will realize that that story can be malleable, it can change. And as a result, you start looking at different elements in that story and make that story real for you, so that eventually your identity changes. Now, I won't say that doing all these is going to dramatically change your identity. What I'm saying is that it builds a certain character. So with these three building blocks, the central triangle, the inverted triangle, that's where you begin to grow your character. So character is related to both values as well as identity, right? So the stronger the character, the stronger the identity. It's like, I'm a patriotic contributor to my country. Now that's not just a statement of identity, that stems from the root, which is character. So I'd like you to think about building habit from just these three initial blocks alone. It's not a difficult thing to do. In fact, I think it's really, really easy to start off by saying, okay, here's the physical design, here's the emotional design. Let's get to the psychological elements of doing that reprogramming by visualizing, by amplifying the power that is within this story and making the story as real as it needs to be. Because after all, you and I already have stories about our origins, about the difficulties we faced. How about building up stories within our mind, visualizations that help us to create habits that build a character that makes achieving a certain goal nothing more than a done deal, because that's who you are. So, did you learn anything from that video? If you did, just give it a thumbs up and then click on the subscribe button and hit the notifications icon so that you and I will continue to stay in touch and I can provide you with updates whenever we have new videos.